I'm Kamali, taking you through some of the things people are talking about and some of the stuff they're sharing around the world on NewsFeed today. 52 million and counting, that's how many have been affected by Google Plus's latest bug. Crowdfunding in 2018, people making money off not doing very much. And everyone's heard of Kung Fu fighting, but have you heard of Kung Fu bullfighting? Well, top of our newsfeed, Google, the everywhere tech firm, say they're shuttering their failed project Google Plus earlier than previously planned after another issue was found which could affect more than 52 million of its users. Now, Google found all that those people could have had their data taken by third-party apps. Google had sold access to those bits of data. Now, this was happening even when users were on the private setting. This huge breach comes after Google revealed in October 500,000 had been affected. Now, in a statement, the tech firm said,
"We understand that our ability to build reliable products that protect your data drives user trust. We have always taken this seriously, and we continue to invest in our privacy programs. We will never stop our work to build privacy protections that work for everyone."
And it's interesting timing that Google have decided to reveal how badly they messed up with Plus. The boss, Sundar Pichai, will be in front of US Congress on Tuesday. Let's hope he has something better to say than the usual stock answers. Sorry we messed up, we'll try and do better. Do no evil, remember? Now, there was plenty of drama in the British House of Commons yesterday. MPs shouted at Prime Minister Theresa May for about 4 hours as she made her excuses for postponing a vote on the Brexit deal. And one of the many decent viral moments was this one. A Labour MP called Lloyd Russell Moyle made more of a name for himself by, you didn't see it, but stealing the mace for about 5 seconds, the ceremonial mace. Without it, the Parliament can't meet or pass laws, apparently. Now, obviously, it doesn't stop them actually getting into the building or discussing legislation. It's not magic. The MP said he did it in protest at the vote being delayed and has now been suspended from the House, but not for very long. The MP himself tweeted this after he calmed down. Thankfully, he hasn't been locked in the Tower of London and he'll be back in Parliament to make a show of himself again tomorrow. And on Twitter, a writer called Bim Adewemi wrote, "The half-hearted no-no-nos from the Speaker are really the Brexit negotiations in a nutshell." Now, forget Priyanka Chopra and Nick Jonas's nuptials. There'll be another huge wedding in India this week. This one with more rich people showing off just how rich they are and just how unimportant money is to them. That's in a country where just below half of the 1 and a bit billion people live in grinding poverty. Rebecca has the story.
The wedding celebrations for Isha Ambani, the daughter of India's richest man, Mukesh Ambani, are already well underway. She's getting married to Anand Piramal. He's the son of another Indian billionaire. The actual wedding isn't until Wednesday, but the festivities kicked off this weekend with US superstar Beyoncé performing at the extravagant celebrations. The celebrations have attracted the likes of Hillary Clinton and some of Bollywood's biggest stars, including Shah Rukh Khan. Many of the guests have been flown in by charter planes. But in a country where hundreds of millions of people still live in poverty, some have taken to social media to criticize the amount of money being spent on the wedding, although the actual figure isn't yet known. One former diplomat, Casey Singh, for example, writes on Twitter, "Imagine the impact if the money had instead been donated to social causes and used for things like free eye care, for example." Many others have echoed this sentiment. Another user says, "With so much poverty in India, this is vulgar capitalism." But despite the concerns, India is clearly fascinated by this wedding.
Now, YouTube published their year in review rewind video, and it has not had the reception the site would have wanted.
Yeah, it's rewind time. Yeah, if I control rewind, I would want Fortnite and Marquez Brownlee.
Not only were there some obviously huge stars missing out, like the time when KSI punched one of the Paul brothers in the face, the rewind video has more dislikes than nearly any other video on the site. 8 million currently behind the 9.7 million that is the Bieber banger Baby. And an interesting wrinkle, as the YouTube community are mainly just trolls and sheep, there is now a growing momentum, as seen from these comments, to take dislikes from the Bieber video and make the Rewind one the most disliked out there. Now this is what the most popular YouTuber in the world had to say.
I remember, I mean, everyone remembers, Rewind was something that, it seemed at least like an homage to the creators that year. It was something cool to be part of. Now it's almost like I'm almost glad that I'm not in it, because it's such a cringy video at this point. It's so disconnected with the community and its creators.
And people on Twitter had plenty to say about it. Here's one of the more thoughtful comments. It says that while the writer of the tweet supports the message behind the video, the switch from Fortnite dancing to discussing mental health just wasn't appropriate. Now, crowdfunding is normally a way for regular people to raise money for charity, or if you're in the US, raise money for healthcare. But now it seems more and more are using it as a way to earn a living. Here's a conjure.
Elena and Riley are Australians who met in Greece 4 years ago. Riley had just bought a yacht like you do, but did not know how to sail. They started sailing together and also made vlogs to make anyone who wasn't them as jealous as possible. They started posting them on Patreon, a membership platform for content creators. Maybe because they'd run out of money due to their yacht purchase, or maybe they knew something more and more people are starting to realize. Strangers will pay to watch other strangers do stuff. Today they have 2,402 patrons and people who pay for their adventures, as they brag that they have sailed more than 110,000 kilometers.
The short answer is crowdfunding, which is what this video is going to be about. So if you're not interested, then yeah, please don't continue to watch.
Dream life? Well, it can be whether or not you have a dream job. Jovan Hill, a 25-year-old unemployed man in Brooklyn, posted this live video on the live streaming app Periscope with a small ask. He needed $7,000 urgently. In the video, he repeatedly asks for money.
I'm about to leave. I'm gonna get some food. Okay? I can wear my shoes and I'm about to look.
Lo and behold, the money started flowing into his Venmo and PayPal accounts. Jovan Hill is a social media influencer with 200,000 followers across Periscope, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, and Patreon. He says what he's doing is giving people a direct peek into a queer bipolar black man's life. He wants to move to LA, and despite being unemployed, he makes upwards of $4,000 a month. So why do people connect with his tribulations? He sells a story that works for some. Earlier this year, when he went to Texas, his followers sent him money because they didn't want him to get arrested for unpaid parking tickets. He knows how to get audience participation and how to get them to pay. But it's not just the broke and talentless. Actual artists like Amanda Palmer and the guys behind the Wait But Why website make good use of the site. Patreon is a membership platform that, as their promo says, makes it easy for artists and creators to get paid.
We're using the idea of patronage, which is actually a really old idea.
Exactly, Jack. If it weren't for patrons, we wouldn't have Romeo and Juliet or Mona Lisa. Mozart, Shakespeare, Da Vinci, they all had patrons, mostly aristocrats who paid them to create so they could enjoy their works and brag to their friends about how cool they are for supporting creators.
Not sure Shakespeare was swanning around on a yacht or begging for rent money so he could post another dull video. What these people have discovered is an unregulated way of getting fans with money to part with it. And while creatives will always need creative ways to be funded, what we see with the yachters and the LA Dreamer could be seen as voyeurism 2.0.
Well, there are an increasing number of anti-Semitic attacks and incidents across Europe. And just for good measure, racist incidents are up too. Now, hate crime appears to be on the rise across the planet. And in Europe, more and more Jewish people are considering leaving over the concerns for their safety. around the world. Now for some other stories you need to know this Tuesday. Now, one US company has succeeded in partly banning another from doing business in China. Qualcomm, who make processor chips, have managed to argue in Chinese court that Apple can no longer sell its older handsets in the country. Now, Qualcomm say it's down to an infringement of their intellectual property. The current ruling bans the sale of the iPhone 6s up to the iPhone X, which will have iOS 11. It's about patents and the tech that allows for the resizing and reformatting of pictures and the navigation between apps. A pimped-out priest in Russia has had to say sorry for these images. As you can see, Vyacheslav Baskakov has a penchant for the finer things like Gucci slips and Louis handbags. Rather than the modesty you expect from a man of the cloth, this one has made sure that his cloth is embroidered with luxury logos. He's deleted the photos and said he won't do it again. And we all know we can trust the church when it says it's learned from its mistakes. A far-right instigator called Gavin McInnes is finding himself increasingly cancelled. The guy who set up Vice magazine in the 90s is now the founder of an alt-right gang called the Proud Boys, and he's been banned from YouTube. He's already been banned from Twitter, Facebook and Instagram. The only place left is the right-wing gutter Gab, where these kind of people belong. And it has taken long enough. Voyager 2 is now in the place scientists call the space between the stars. 6 years after its sister vessel Voyager 1, they were both launched in 1977, 16 days apart on differing trajectories. They're both powered by plutonium, which will run out in the coming decades. Now the pair are headed for outer space, and every few days they send back a little beep to let the scientists know they're still out there, like a little intergalactic check-in. And the Geminid meteor shower is putting on a cosmic show right now. This video is from Mexico City. The meteors are bits of debris from the asteroid 3200 Phaethon as that asteroid burns up. You'll be able to see it from anywhere on the planet where there is a clear night sky. Its peak will be in a couple of days when we show you more of these great videos. And lastly, many of you will be familiar with the Spanish bullfighting tradition, but you might be less familiar with the Chinese version. Here's Ezra.
This is bullfighting with a Chinese twist. The physically intense sport requires fighters to train thoroughly to subdue their bovine opponent. It ties together the moves of wrestling with the speed of kung fu. A fighter approaches the bull head-on and grabs it by the horns, turning its head until the bull topples over.
Inside the ring, I see the bull as my adversary, but outside the ring, I treat him like a friend or fellow warrior. Why? Because we are often together, performing together on the same stage.
The fighters get just 3 minutes to wrestle the bull to the ground. The traditional sport has been long practiced by China's Hui ethnic minority. While some may see it as a proud tradition, critics say it constitutes animal cruelty.
Yes, it's true that there is blood and gore in Spanish bullfighting, and it's certainly very violent. But in Chinese bullfighting, we cannot deny that during this process the bulls experience pain. There are certainly physical and psychological effects on them.
That hasn't deterred the athletes, though, who say the animals are specially trained and are treated better than bulls in Spain.
Well, that is all from the NewsFeed team. Reach out to me with your questions, comments, complaints and suggestions. I'm at Kamali Melbourne. You'll find us 24/7 on Twitter and YouTube. Follow, subscribe and add. See you again soon.